Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I invite you to use our chat and wish each other a Shabbat Shalom. Perhaps you're in the Poconos or in Springfield or someplace where we want to be. I wish we could all be together, but the second best thing is being with each other on our little squares on celebrating Shabbat together. Lighting a candle in the darkness is the most elemental human symbol of hope. When you light these candles, you reenact God's opening act of creation. Let there be light. You also provide warmth, emotional as well as physical, for your home. Candle lighting sets this day apart. It creates sanctity and invites the Shekhinah, God's maternal presence, to be your honored guest and sit at your table. May this be a peaceful and loving Shabbat for you and all who share your home and our entire congregation. We turn to page 121. We light our Shabbat candles. If you have Shabbat candles at home, I invite you to light them with me. We offer thanks to God for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. And so as we welcome the Sabbath bride with the Lecha Dodi, I invite everyone to wave to each other, wave to the person to the left, to the right, above you and below you. And we continue with the words of Lecha Dodi on page 138.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat kabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat kabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat kabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala. Shabbat
Page 144, we turn to the words of Hatzi Kaddish.
Yitkada Shmei Rabbah Behol Mod Yibrachiruti Yom Bech Malchutei B'chayechon u'byomechon u'b'chayet chol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala u'bizman kariv ve'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olam me'olmaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalel v'yitalal Shemei dekudesha b'richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma b'meru Amen.
Continue with the Baruch Hu. If you're able, please rise. We continue with the Ma'ariv Aravim, page 148. Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim, B'chochma Poteach Sha'arim, Uvi'una Meshanei Itim, Umachlif et Hazmanim, Umesader et HaChochavim, B'mishroteam Barakir Kirtzono, Borei Yom V'Layla, Vol'el Or Mipnei Choshech, V'choshech Mipnei Or, Uma'avir Yom Uvin Layla, Uma'avdil Ben Yom Uven Layla, Adonai Tzefaot Shemo, El Chai B'chayam Tamid Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Ata Adonai, Ha'amariv Aravim. We continue on page 151. I'm going to try something new, and I'm going to ask Howard and Sylvia Cohen if you can unmute yourself and read that prayer at the top of the page. Hopefully you can unmute yourself. Yeah.
You taught Torah to those whose name I bear. Teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
We continue with the Shema. Please be seated. We turn to page 157 in our Siddur. I asked Sharon Zinni to read responsively with me at the bottom of the page. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
High heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again, we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
We continue with the words of Micha Mocha. On page 161, I invite Annette Raddick to read at the top of the page.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will.
Baruch atah Adonai, haparei sukkot shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue with Vishamru. Yisrael, We turn to the Amidah. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei Hakol V'zochel Chastei Avot V'imahot U'mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Lema'an Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Abraham, Bezrat Sarah, Ata Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol Atara ve'Hoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim, Berofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, vishenei afar, michamocha ba'al givurot, umida melach, melech mimit, umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Ben Eman Ata Lehachayot Hakol, Baruch Atah Adonai Mechaye Hakol, Ata Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, Ukadoshim B'chol Yom Yehalelucha Selah, Baruch Atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
We continue silently, either using the words of our Siddur, the words of your heart. When you're done having your personal conversation with God, I invite you to be seated. During our silent prayer, our thoughts may have turned to our loved ones or close friends who need a little bit of extra healing of mind, body, or spirit. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. Our synagogue community thinks of Zalman Ben-Dina, Gabby Kraft Buckman, Susan Klein, Summer Curter, Susan Robb, Linda Rabino, Arlene Furman, David Bregman, Neil Silverman, Linda Fleischer, Bernie Weinstein, Larry Maslow, Mason Rockmore, Martin Ostroff, Don Hirsch, Pearl Weitzman, Aaron Taylor, Rochelle Sperger, Martin Spergel, Mike Blumenfeld, Samasai Billamy, Clive Brown, Marcia Brown, Marissa Fisher, Perry Shellman, Susan Schneider, Kathleen Murphy, Sharon Neese, Rabbi Rob Nessenchuk, Emily Tucker, Anthony Scatorius Diori, Barry Sakowitz, Nicasio Gritzana, Artie Lerner, Stacy Whitfield, Nate Maslow, Shirley Rosenberg, Isaac Peck, Rosalie Rapfogel. To those names we add Dan Riley and Claude Blyce, Abby Gutkin, and Patricia McGuire. We take a moment to sing the Misha Berach. On page 376, we turn to a prayer for our country. I invite you to read along with me at the bottom of the page. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. And together we say, Amen.
Amen.
On page 377, Avinu Shabbat Shamayim, Sor Yisrael v'goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Smichat Geulatenu. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love and spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. And together we say, Amen.
Amen.
We now turn to the words of Kaddish, sanctifying the Shabbat. If you are celebrating something sweet that may have happened this week, I invite you to share in the chat box. I see the Budnicks are on here. They are celebrating a recent wedding, so mazel tov to the two of you. But if you have other things that you are celebrating, I would love to share them before we or after we do the Kaddish to recognize the sweetness of not just this Shabbat, but everything else that has been added because of it. My parents celebrated an anniversary. Oh, hi, Mom and Dad. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Luckily, I got to celebrate with them as well. Annette Raddick's granddaughter passed her driving test. Mazel tov to her. Anything else that's sweet this week? Katie Engel started a new job as a therapist, and she is doing an amazing job. Katie did not write that, by the way. Her husband Brian did, so just to let you know. So we continue with the sweetness of Shabbat by raising our Kaddish cups. I invite you to rise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'ahava uvratzon, inchilanu, zikaron, lema'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila, למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. הבנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן. לחיים.
Chaim. Please be seated.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. My favorite television show is I Love Lucy. If you need some pandemic viewing, I highly recommend it. Each half-hour episode follows a similar arc. Lucy gets a crazy idea in her head, which ultimately lands her in trouble. It may have been a trophy cup stuck on her head, or getting drunk while doing a commercial for the Vita Mita Vegemin Health Tonic. But with the help of her sidekick, Ethel, or her husband, Ricky, it all works out in the end, neatly wrapped up in the heart-shaped logo at the close of each episode, just as the credits began to roll. My favorite episodes were those when the Ricardos and the Mertzes were on the road. Like any good journey, the travels of Lucy and Ricky, Fred and Ethel always involved a lot of fun, a little drama, and a lesson learned. Maybe you remember the car trip to California for Ricky's big break in Hollywood, or the European tour for Ricky's band. Who could forget Lucy trying to walk down the grand staircase with her oversized headdress, or smuggling a 25-pound block of cheese on the plane home from Europe, disguised as a baby? No trip was direct, and every stop was more than memorable. This is what I thought of when reading this week's double portion, Matot Ma'aseh. These are the two final portions of the book of Numbers. The Israelites are approaching Israel. For 49 verses, the Torah describes every stop along the way. All 42 of them, in fact, from Egypt to the steppes of Moab. It is the biblical version of a travel diary. Much like the Ricardos and the Mertzes, our biblical ancestors often seem lost, sometimes ran into unsavory characters, and learned more than a few lessons. Our journeys often define us and shape our lives. This summer has me thinking about journeys. Some families pack their car and hit the open road, drive for days on end, play I Spy, and sing along the way. Others pitch a tent in the wilderness, cook their dinner on a campfire, and pray for dry weather. Growing up, I knew one family who went to the same hotel every single summer. And just like our journeys shape us, I imagine our ancestors were shaped by their journeys. This is often when siblings grew close or apart. Just like Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, 3 siblings with what must have been a complicated relationship. If you have ever traveled with your family or perhaps even a group of friends, you can be sure there was always someone who was hungry and less than pleased with the dining options. Not unlike the Israelites who grew tired of eating manna day after day. Maybe you remember being an adolescent stuck in a car with a bunch of relatives to whom you could not believe you were related, or wondered who made your older sibling the boss of you. Sort of like Korach and his rebellious followers. Or maybe like the Israelites who built a tabernacle, you and your family built new relationships or repaired broken ones. Like the Israelites who beheld the power of God, maybe you traveled to locations so majestic that you were awestruck. Perhaps like our ancestors, you too created new rituals on your journeys that would define who you were. Recently, while cleaning out a storage area in our basement, I came across the travel diary I kept on my first journey. When I was 13, my father and I went on a 2-week tour of Italy. I can still recall seeing the Last Supper, going to the Vatican, climbing the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and thinking Venice was the most magical place in the world. But most of all, the journey was an opportunity to get to know my father. His small business did not afford him many days off, let alone a 2-week vacation. Now, for 2 weeks, I would have my father to myself. I was so excited about this trip, but in all honesty, a little nervous about spending 2 weeks with a father I did not know all that well. But we got to know each other on that trip. My father learned that I will completely unpack even if I am in a hotel for just one night. And I learned that he liked opera. By the end of the 2 weeks, we were no longer strangers to each other, and we forged a relationship that would survive trials and tribulations. What is it about journeys? Perhaps being out of our element, we allow ourselves to be a bit more vulnerable, willing to take a chance or to try something new. Maybe that is why journeys have the power to shape us. Clearly, my father and I needed that change of scenery in order to take a chance. Among the many souvenirs we brought home from our journey was a newfound trust in each other. As Charles Schulz, the creator of Peanuts, said, "It's not where you go, but who you travel with." I see the power of journey in my own children. They behave differently toward each other when we travel. Avi, my older son, becomes protective of Lev as we give them a little freedom to explore a new place on their own. They share secrets that Colin and I are not privy to, and they can always be expected to team up against their parents when it comes to choosing a place to eat. I guess I am missing the opportunity to travel this summer. Maybe that is why reading about the many stops of our ancestors' journey made me think not only about the travels of Lucy and Ricky, but about my own. In any other year, I probably would have found something else in these two portions to talk about. I would probably have skipped over 49 verses of names of places. This year, however, I needed a travel diary. But isn't that the beauty of Torah and why we read it each year over and over? It's uncanny. No matter where we are on our journey, so often the Torah is right there with us. We continue with Aleinu on page 586. Please rise.
Katrinovic, you're muted.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים בפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
We continue on page 591 at the bottom of the page. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace.
We continue on page 594. Why should I wish to see God better than this day? I see something of God in each hour of the 24. and each moment then. In the faces of men and women I see God, and in my own face in the glass. I find letters from God dropped in the street, and every one is signed by God's name. And I leave them where they are, for I know that wheresoever I go, others will punctually come forever and ever. We recall the loved ones who have died in the last 30 days in our community. Judith Marks, grandmother of Michelle Rubel. Maury Acker, companion of Carol Cohen. Stephen Cabin, father of Jared Cabin. Harold Krefsky, father of Philip Krefsky. Jeffrey Carlin, brother of Peter Carlin. Robert Itzkin, father of Marla Itzkin. Stephanie Popper. Dorothy Uchin, grandmother of Kara Tabachnik. We also remembered those who died at this season in years past. This Shabbat, we observe the yurtzeit of Jacob Berenson, Miriam Biddleman, Nissim Bauman, Jack Blumberg, Anna Bronstein, Fanny Brody, George Cherin, Agnes Eisenberg, Rose Elfant, Arthur Anker, Marvin Fine, Irving Feinberg, Murray M. Feuerstein, Julius Fox, Sophie Z. Fox, Frida Gast, Rebecca Gelfand, Rosa Gilbach, Michael Goldsmith, Bryna Goldstein, Arlene Hatkin, Zelda Kahn, Robert Katz, Fred Kaufman, Mark Keene, Frank Keat, Esther Klein, Roger Levy, Aaron Levinson, Murray Levinson, Regina Lewinter, Julia Lipton, Shirley Parker, Harry Pascal, Alla Plotkin, John Quenzel, Jack Rindner, Jamie Reutman, Sophie Rosenberg, Gail Schwartz, Miriam Seid, Daniel Shapiro, Edith Silverman, Charles Sokler, Shirley Spur, Lila Staff, Irving Steinberg, Marcus Strauss, Nathan Tishman, Susan Trayman, Manya Wessler, Bernard David Weiner, Robert Zemmel, Edie Zimmerman. In addition, we are remembering this week Ron Sabera, Alan Glass, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, Chicky Rosenberg, Edith Lilly, Steve Sarajan, Ellen Gordon, Sylvia Brafman, Andrea Brafman, Mark Rindner, and as we said, Eddie Zimmerman. We continue with the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 594. I invite you to rise, and if you are in mourning this week, I invite you to unmute yourself so that we can hear you. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, b'alma divra hirtei, yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon yomachon, u'chayei b'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala b'zman chavid imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'elam me'olam. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitzhar v'yamam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yithalal, shmei Yosha Rechu. Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'lechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim alinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom v'ramav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. Please be seated. Rabbi Prosnit, are there any announcements that we need to make today?
On Monday, we are kicking off our racial justice initiative with a conversation about just mercy, either the book or the movie. If you're interested, we encourage you to join us at 7:30 on Monday. You can, if you watch the movie beforehand, I think it will be even more meaningful discussion. But of course, if you haven't read the book or watched the movie, you're more than welcome to join us as we kick off our initiative. And there'll be more information following that program. I think other than that, we're planning Tisha B'Av services. We'll have Erev Tisha B'Av services. And then after that, we are doing something new with our community congregations. We'll be doing a service to end Tisha B'Av and learning with our local clergy as well. So that's in 2 weeks. Stay tuned for other events. Bible class continues on Tuesday morning. I know there's a sisterhood event next Wednesday. And I think we're also planning another challah drive-by next Friday. So stop by, get to wave to Rabbi Appel in person and get a challah and maybe some other good Bavela Oneg treats as well. But we're just finalizing that, but that's a teaser for that. But thank you for joining us.
We bring our worship to a close this evening with the words of Oziv Zimrat Yah.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom all. Switch the gallery.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hi, Howard and Sylvia. Hi, Martha.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to all. Hi, Ronnie.
Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Michael, that sermon
Be
was
healthy.
awesome.
Thank you.
Rabbi, we loved it. It was very comforting.
Great service.
Thank
Great.
you.
That sermon
Great.
was awesome.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
Can you
Kathy.
hear us?
Yes.
Agree. Yes.
Where's the owner?
Shabbat
Shalom. Your house, Howard.
Bye.
Shabbat Shalom. Congratulations. Hi, Ari. Hi, Sharon.
Where are the two little ones, Ethan? They were cute to watch.
They are in Westport and I'm in Westfield.
Oh, but they were on the screen.
They were on the screen. Yeah, they were on the screen. I think they probably went to have a bath.
Okay.
That's okay. So they are,
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
That's what he said.
That was such a pretty Mika Mocha. I didn't know that.
Thank you. I saw your comment. It's one of my favorites.
That was
Very
beautiful.
nice service.
Thank you.
who wrote that one?
Yes, Robert Manfield. Look.
It is Bob Mansfield.
Yeah.
Who's he with?
I don't know.
Bob.
Bob, where?
Oh, Mansfield?
Bob.
Where's the
Oh,
Bob?
He
Steven?
went away.
It's Bob Mansfield.
Oh my God.
Welcome, Bob.
Can we get his picture back?
Right.
Bob and Stephen, Jackie, we still miss you on the block.
It's Martha Novik too.
And the Liebermans, we
Oh.
missed Holy Stroller.
Yeah. Hi, Bob.
All right.
Should we leave?
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's good.
I'm so glad that you could
Special
join us.
man.
Right.
That's wonderful.
Stephen? You want to see Bob Mansfield?
Rabbi Appel, can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
It was such a great
Yes,
sermon.
Oh, thank you.
Shalom, Bob.
Such a great sermon.
Thank you.
Good job.
Enter, who wrote the Mi Kamocha?
It's actually Rick Recht.
Oh, really? Wow.
I adapted it because